So here's a weird thing about investing. 1 plus 1 doesn't always equal 2, especially when we're talking about risk. Today, we are going to unlock one of the most powerful tools in all of finance, the covariance matrix. Now, I know it sounds super complex, but it's actually the secret to solving a puzzle that could totally change how you think about building a portfolio. All right, let's imagine a really simple portfolio, okay? Let's say it's 60% in stocks, like an SPY ETF, and 40% in bonds. Now, the stocks have a risk of volatility of about 15%, and the bonds are much safer, say 5% risk. If you just did the simple math, the weighted average, you'd think the total risk should be 11%. Makes sense, right? But when you actually measure it, the real risk is only 8.84%. So what happened? Where did that 2.16% of risk just go? Did it just vanish into thin air? Well, this isn't some rounding error. This is the absolute core secret behind smart diversification. And the clue to solving this whole mystery isn't about the individual assets themselves. And here is the big reveal. Portfolio risk isn't just a simple sum of its parts. No, the really crucial thing, the secret sauce, is understanding the relationship between your assets, how they dance together when the music of the market is playing. The way we measure this relationship is with a concept called covariance. It's basically a single number that tells us how two assets tend to move. Do they rise and fall at the same time, or there's one zig while the other one zags? Think of it like a couple of dancers. If they have positive covariance, they're moving in perfect sync. One steps forward, the other steps forward. But negative covariance, that's a counterbalance. One steps forward, the other steps back. And zero covariance? Well, they're just on the dance floor doing their own thing. And let me tell you, in investing, that negative relationship, that counterbalance, is pure gold. Now, covariance is great, but the raw numbers can be kind of hard to compare side by side. So we standardize it into something you've probably heard of, correlation. It always falls between -1 and +1, which makes it super easy to interpret. It's kind of like converting a bunch of different currencies into US dollars just to see how they stack up. A +1 means they're perfect dance partners, -1 means they're perfect opposite. Okay, so we get it. We can measure the relationship between two assets. But what about a real portfolio? One with 3 or 10 or even 100 assets? We need a way to see all of those different dance routines at the exact same time. And this is it. This is the master tool, the covariance matrix. Honestly, you can think of it as the complete risk DNA for your portfolio. It's just a simple grid that lays out every single asset's individual risk and its unique relationship with every other asset. It's all there in one place. Let's actually build one. It's easier than it looks. The first part is this diagonal line running from the top left to the bottom right. This is simple. It just holds the variance for each asset, which is just its own individual risk squared. So this is asset 1's risk all by itself, asset 2's risk by itself, and so on. Easy enough. Okay, now for the fun part. We fill in everything else. All these other cells are the covariances, the relationships between the assets. So this cell right here tells us how asset 1 moves with asset 2. This one over here, that's asset 2 with asset 3. You get the idea. In one beautiful grid, you have the entire risk structure of your portfolio. So now that we have our master tool, the covariance matrix, we can finally use it. And we're going to plug it into what a lot of people call the single most important formula in all of modern finance. This is how we're going to solve our puzzle. And there it is, the formula for portfolio variance. I know, it looks a little intimidating, but it's actually beautiful. That W is just our list of portfolio weights, our 60% and 40%. And that big funky sigma symbol in the middle, that's our entire covariance matrix we just built. This one little equation takes our weights in our matrix and gives us the true total risk of the whole portfolio. So let's solve our mystery from the beginning. Step 1, we calculate the covariance between our stocks and bonds, and crucially, it's a negative number. Step 2, we build our little 2x2 matrix. The individual risks go on the diagonal, and that negative covariance goes everywhere else. Step 3, we plug our 60-40 weights and that matrix into our big formula, and the number it spits out is a portfolio variance of 0.00782. Okay, one last step. To get from variance back to a risk number we can understand, we just take the square root. And what do we get? Boom, 8.84%. Exactly the number from the start. We found it. So here's the big realization. The risk never vanished. It was actively reduced because we combined two assets that move differently. That negative covariance in our matrix is what mathematically captured this diversification benefit. When stocks zigged, bonds tended to zag, and that smoothed out the ride and lowered the total risk. Okay, so we solved the math problem, which is pretty neat, but this isn't just an academic exercise. Understanding this is absolutely critical for anyone trying to invest their own money. So what does this mean for you in the real world? I mean, just look at this chart. A portfolio that's 100% stocks has a risk of 15%. But if we just swap half of those stocks for bonds, creating a 50-50 portfolio, our total risk plummets to 8.7%. That's not just taking the average, it's a massive risk reduction, and it's all because we added something that doesn't move in a lockstep with stocks. But, and this is a huge but, this leads to a classic mistake. People think diversification just means owning a lot of different tickers. But look at this portfolio made of 3 different US stock ETFs, SPY, QQQ, and IWM. You own 3 things, sure, but the diversification benefit is tiny. And why is that? Because they're all highly correlated. They're all basically the same dancer doing slightly different moves. And that brings us to the single most important lesson of this entire explainer. Real, meaningful diversification does not come from the number of assets you own. It comes from owning assets with low, or even better, negative correlation to each other. It's about how different they are. So I'm going to leave you with a question to think about. Go look at your own investments. Is your portfolio truly diversified, or have you just bought a bunch of different flavors of the exact same ice cream? Because understanding the covariance between your assets, well, that's the only way to know for sure.